This is how I hot wax transfer a gemstone. First I have to clean off the previous polish and any oils from it. This is alcohol with some wax in it. I'll do it one last dunk and then I'll let it dry. Next I choose a dot to transfer into. It's a little smaller than what I might need, but the wax will make up the difference. Next I prepare the transfer jig. I always put my stone to be dopped in the left side, and I'll put the dop that it's going to get transferred to on the right side. I try and make it so that the stone is centered in there. Basically, I'm going to lower the stone from the left to the right here. Now comes the fun part. I use an old alcohol burning lamp, and what I'll do is I'll heat up the destination dop. This takes a little while. There's a lot of metal in the transfer jig, and there's some pretty good connections, but eventually the cone dop will get warm enough to start melting the wax. What you see here is that I've got the wax just slightly behind the flame, just enough to start getting it soft, but not enough to make it actually catch fire. You can see it's slightly smoking here as I scrape it along the dop. What I'm trying to do is fill the cone with wax, and that's basically all the wax I'll need for this. Now that I've got enough wax inside the dop, I'm just going to heat it up a little bit more, try and get the dop nice and warm so that I can lower the stone onto the hot wax. Now the wax is hot enough, so what I'm going to do is put the transfer jig vertical and put the stone down. And I'm also finding out that I don't have the camera set up quite right for this shot. Oh well, only if I was left-handed. But what I'm doing is I'm going to push the stone down into the wax. The wax is not runny, but it is soft enough to take the stone. But now I'm going to have to heat up the stone and the destination dop a bit more to get the wax to run over it. Now what I get to do is heat up the destination dop so that it heats up the wax, so that the wax runs over the stone and heats the stone up, and eventually they'll bond to each other. What you'll notice is that I have the dops tilted here so that the wax will run onto the stone. The other thing is I'm trying not to get the stone into the flame. It looks like it from time to time, but that's just the camera. Obviously, you don't want to do this with heat-sensitive stones for this reason, because occasionally things get pretty warm in there. I also don't want to heat up the left dop, or the dop that it's coming from, very much either, because that will cause the stone to shift. So I'm trying to concentrate my heat all on the right side here. Once I see the wax running between the stone and the dop, I put the transfer jig down vertically to let it cool down. Once the transfer jig is cooled off, we can open it up and test to see how well the bond is taken. Generally, I will try and flex it a little bit because I'd rather find out now that it's weak than when it's on the machine. Now we get to release the original dop from the assembly here. I'll use the clothespin again because that dop will get warm. Generally, it doesn't take a whole lot of time to get the old dop melted right off, and it just falls off. Ta-da, here we go. Now I'm ready to cut the crown.